Chapter 7. At last, Lisa and Macduff walked around the side of the house. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I sat on the lion bench, my skirt spread around me, my hands clasped in my lap, my back straight, and waited for them to see me. To be honest, I was scared. I had no idea what I looked like now. No mirrors, no one to ask but Georgie, who couldn't be trusted to give an honest answer. What if Lisa turned and ran at the sight of me? Macduff saw me before Lisa did. He tugged at his leash and barked. At that moment, I wanted nothing more than to flee to the safety of the woods. But I swallowed my fear and rose uneasily to my feet, as if I were a hostess greeting a guest. With some effort, Lisa held Macduff back. "Diana, is that you?" I smiled, pleased she didn't quite recognize me. I hoped I no longer looked like the monster who'd frightened her. "I washed," I said. "I changed my clothes, like I said I would." Toast. She came closer. When we were face to face, she smiled. She smiled, and Macduff sniffed the hand I held out to him. "Good dog," I whispered. He tilted his head to the side and regarded me in a friendly way. His tail thumped once, a bit hesitantly. "You look so different," Lisa blurted out. "Yesterday I thought—" She stopped and blushed. "You read my diary, so I guess you know what I thought." "I didn't mean to scare you," I laughed, and after a second so did she. We were both nervous, edgy, unsure what to say or do. When Lisa managed to stop laughing, she said, "You look like a wild girl, a savage." We laughed again, even harder. "Wait till you see my brother," I said through my giggles. "He won't take a bath. He won't let me wash or comb his hair. He won't even change his clothes." "Your parents let him get away with that?" Lisa sounded surprised. "Don't they?" "Oh no, I cut myself off. I couldn't tell Lisa everything. Maybe I shouldn't even have mentioned Georgie." They don't care," I finished, but Lisa seemed to have lost interest in my parents. She reached out to touch my braid. "Your hair is beautiful, so long and thick and blonde, almost white." It took forever to comb out the tangles. I winced at the memory. My scalp still sore. We sat down on the lion bench together. Macduff lay down with his chin on Lisa's clean white tennis shoes. "I don't have any shoes," I told Lisa, suddenly conscious of my bare feet. She looked surprised. "What do you do in the winter?" "My feet are really tough." I held up one foot so she could see the sole, as black and hard as if it were made of leather. "I don't need shoes." Lisa stretched out her feet. "These are new. Maybe I could give you my old ones." She put one foot next to mine. "We're about the same size." We smiled at each other. That's what friends did, shared with each other. My heart beat a little faster. Maybe Lisa liked me. Maybe I could show her my favorite things. The spring that gushed out of a pile of mossy rocks and ferns, the heron's nest in a dead tree in the marsh, the fox's den, the albino deer. Just as I was about to suggest a walk, she leaned toward me, the smile gone from her face. "Did you and your brother steal my bike and the other things?" she asked. "I won't be mad. I just want them back." Shame heated my face. Maybe Lisa didn't want to be my friend after all. Maybe she just wanted her bike and her book and her teddy bear. "We didn't steal your bike," I told her. "We borrowed it one night to take a ride, that's all. But Georgie crashed into a tree and wrecked it. We were scared to bring it back, so we hid it in the woods." "It was brand new," Lisa said. "Dad gave it to me for my birthday, and he can't afford to buy another one." "I'm sorry." I twisted my braid, tugging till my sore scalp hurt. Lisa looked at me without smiling. "What about my book?" she asked. "And my bear?" "I'm reading Lassie to Georgie," I said. "He loves it. Can we keep it a little longer? We're halfway through already." Lisa considered this. I've read it 5 times, so I guess I can wait. She looked at me, squinting in the sunlight. It's my favorite book. It's my favorite book, too. I've read it at least 5 myself. I smiled at her, happy we had something in common. It wasn't stealing, you know. We borrowed it like a library book. We were going to bring it back. Lisa gave me a half smile and said, "What about my bear?" I pictured Georgie sleeping happily with Alfie. How could I take the bear away from him? He'd be heartbroken. "I know the bear's special to you," I said slowly, "but it's special to Georgie too. He used to have one just like it, but I stopped myself just in time." "You have so many toys. Couldn't Georgie keep it for a while?" "You don't understand. My mother gave it to me." Lisa's eyes filled with tears. "She died when I was only 5. I can hardly remember her. But when I hold Tedward, it's almost like she's with me again." I touched her arm, full of sympathy for her and for Georgie as well. "Please, Lisa, Georgie will take good care of your bear." Lisa folded her arm across her chest and frowned at the woods. I looked at her, wishing I knew what to say or do. Making friends was harder than I remembered. Or maybe I was just out of practice. "Where's Georgie now?" Lisa asked suddenly. I shrugged. "He's probably fishing at the pond or holed up in a tree somewhere. Maybe he's catching frogs in the marsh. He often disappears all day." Lisa looked at me curiously. "You seem to know a lot about the farm. Do you live near here?" "Yes." I folded my hands in my lap and watched a red leaf spin past my feet. It made a tiny scuttling sound on the terrace. I wish Lisa would stop asking questions. It was tiring. "Do you live in those houses across the highway?" "Yes." The red leaf settled down in the corner with the other leaves. 2 more followed it. Scuttle, scuttle across the terrace like tiny footsteps. "Do your parents know you come here after dark?" I shook my head. "No, we sneak out." "You're pretty good at sneaking," Lisa said. "Out of your house into my house." She was mad again. I could tell by her voice and the sharp look she gave me. "I promise I won't borrow anything else," I said, "unless I ask first." "How about Georgie?" "I'll make him promise to." "You better." "I'm sorry. Honest, I am," I told her. "But we've always taken stuff from the caretakers. They were lazy, mean old men, not like you and your father. You're the first girl who's ever come here. Please, Lisa, don't be mad. I haven't had a friend for a long, long time." Lisa hesitated. "I want my bear back," she said in a low voice, close to tears again. "Bring him back and we can be friends." Before I could answer, we were interrupted by a series of whoops and hollers from the woods. Georgie dashed up the hill towards us, his face and body painted with red and yellow mud from the creek. Crow and hawk feathers jutted from his hair. He wore nothing but a ragged loincloth. "Go home," he shouted at Lisa, "and don't come near my sister again, or you'll be sorry." Lisa gasped and dropped Macduff's leash. The dog raced across the lawn towards Georgie. I ran after Macduff, screaming at Lisa, Call him off, that's my brother!" "Macduff," Lisa cried, "Macduff, come here." The dog had already caught Georgie and knocked him down. He stood over him, snarling. While Georgie lay on the ground and hollered, I grabbed Macduff's leash and tried to pull him away. In a second, Lisa was beside me, yelling at the dog, tugging at his collar. At last, Macduff allowed Lisa to haul him away from Georgie. I knelt beside my brother. "Are you all right?" He sat up, looking more savage than ever. "You liar! I knew you'd sneaked off and asked to see her." Lisa stared at him, struggling to restrain Macduff. The dog kept barking. The racket echoed from the house, and the woods setting off a flock of crows. "Stop it, Macduff," Lisa shouted, adding to the din. "Be quiet. Sit." Georgie scrambled to his feet. "Shut up and go away," he yelled at Lisa. "And make that stupid dog be quiet. She's bound to hear the noise he's making." Who? Lisa looked at Georgie. Who will hear? I grabbed my brother and shook him. Don't say another word. He pulled loose. I can say whatever I want. Thanks to you, the rules are busted. Nothing matters now. Lisa turned to me. What's he talking about? I stood between Lisa and Georgie, unsure whose side to take. I was furious with my brother for messing things up just when I was getting to know Lisa. But there he stood, ready to cry, though Lisa wouldn't have guessed it from his fierce expression. Georgie had a good reason to be angry. As he'd said, I was a liar. I'd broken promises. I'd broken rules, all because I wanted a friend. Just as I was about to take Georgie's hand and run, Lisa said, Here comes my father. Horrified, I spun around and watched as Mr. Morrison strode towards us. It was one thing for Lisa to know about Georgie and me. She was just a kid like us. But Mr. Morrison was an adult. He was bound to ask even more questions than Lisa, and he'd be harder to fool. What's going on? Mr. Morrison asked, obviously puzzled by Georgie's in my presence. Who are these children? Diana's my friend, and that's her brother Georgie, Lisa said. Macduff tried to bite Georgie. He had him down on the ground. I could hardly pull him off. Lisa started crying. I was so scared. Mr. Morrison grabbed the dog's collar and told him to sit and be quiet. Macduff obeyed, but he watched my brother closely. He'd probably never seen a boy quite like Georgie. Keeping a grip on Macduff, Mr. Morrison asked my brother if he was all right. Did Macduff bite you or hurt you? Georgie's thin chest rose and fell sharply with every quick and angry breath. Ignoring Mr. Morrison, he scowled at me. You've really done it now, Diana. Before I could say a word to stop him, Georgie turned and ran. His skinny legs streaked through the weeds. The feathers in his hair bobbed. He didn't look back. Where did I go? He didn't look back, not even when I called his name. In a few seconds, he vanished into the woods. A crow cawed, and then all was still. I longed to run after my brother, but I stood where I was, too shocked to move. After all these years, I'd let a caretaker catch me. I couldn't believe it. Georgie was right. I'd really done it now. Mr. Morrison stared at the vines and leaves still swaying from Georgie's plunge into the trees. I wish he'd let me take a look at him. Are you sure the dog didn't bite him? I'm positive, Lisa answered for me. He knocked him down, that's all. He's okay, I added. Macduff's just scared him. Mr. Morrison glanced at Macduff, who was now lying calmly at his feet. That's not like you, old boy. Maybe it was the feathers in Georgie's hair, Lisa said, and the war paint. He jumped out of the bushes screaming and yelling. I guess he was trying to frighten us. Mr. Morrison shook his head. I've never seen a kid like that. He looked like a genuine savage. Lisa nodded. I was scared to death of him. Her father turned to me. Well, I'm glad to see you don't wear feathers in your hair, too. He smiled to show he was teasing, but I didn't trust him. He'd start asking questions any minute now. Sure enough, his very next words were, Do you and Georgie live nearby? I shrugged and stared at my bare feet, cleaner than they'd been in years, almost unrecognizable. I seemed to have lost my voice as well as the ability to move. Lisa reached out and took my hand. Doesn't Diana have the most beautiful hair you ever saw? Why, yes, he said. With that long braid, you could be a princess in a fairy tale. Rapunzel, perhaps. Come home with us. Lisa held my hand tighter. We'll have something cold to drink. Soda, iced tea, lemonade, whatever you want. Like a creature with no will of my own, I allowed Lisa to lead me back to the trailer. What was done was done. I might as well enjoy having a friend as long as possible. End of chapter 7.